Our top story tonight. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told the Russian President Vladimir Putin now is not the time for war, with food, fertilizer and fuel security among major concerns across the globe at present. The Russian President acknowledged India's concerns a day after a rare admission from Putin conceded that its key ally China also had concerns over the conflict in Ukraine. Earlier, the Prime Minister today spoke about transit access between member nations of the SCO as well. But first, let's take a look at some of the major highlights of that meeting between President Putin and Prime Minister Modi.
Excellency, मैं जानता हूं कि आज का युग युद्ध का है नहीं। मैं आपका और यूक्रेन दोनों का इस बात के लिए आभार व्यक्त करना भी चाहूंगा, क्योंकि जब शुरू के दिनों में इस संकट के काल में हमारे हजारों स्टूडेंट्स यूक्रेन में फंसे हुए थे, आपकी और यूक्रेन की मदद से हमारे स्टूडेंट को हम सुरक्षित रूप से बाहर निकाल पाए। आज फिर एक बार हम मिल रहे हैं और आज भी दुनिया के सामने जो सबसे बड़ी चिंता है, और खास करके डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज को फूड सिक्योरिटी के, फ्यूल सिक्योरिटी की, फर्टिलाइजर की, ऐसी जो समस्याएं हैं, हमें जरूर उनके रास्ते निकालने होंगे और आपने भी उसमें पहल करनी होगी। उन विषयों पर भी आज चर्चा करने का मौका मिलेगा।
I know about your position on the conflict in Ukraine, and I know about your concerns. I know that you share these concerns, and we want all of this to end as soon as possible. But the other party, the leadership of Ukraine, has claimed that they refuse to engage in negotiating process. They said that they want to achieve their objectives, as they say, on the battlefield militarily. We will keep you abreast of everything that is happening over there.
Maha Siddiqui joining us live from Samarkand now with the latest on that. Maha, this seems to be making global headlines, the fact that the Prime Minister took this opportunity to remind President Putin of the very real concerns that the entire world faces right now, whether it comes to food, energy, and indeed, getting that kind of acknowledgement also that, these concerns are understood and appreciated.
Absolutely, Ankita. And isn't it a curious turn that even Russia has taken, considering that only yesterday President Vladimir Putin admitted that China had concerns with regard to the Ukraine crisis. And today he has also spoken about how he understands and appreciates India's concerns. And then Prime Minister Modi saying that this is not the era of war, pretty much once again calling out to Russia to end this war, saying that it is resulting in a food and fuel crisis, an energy crisis globally, and that the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, needs to take the initiative. He said in Hindi, "Aapko bhi pehal karni hogi," which means he needs to take the initiative now to end this crisis. Certainly a big headline coming in here, as Prime Minister Modi has spoken both to President Putin and President Zelensky in the past on the phone, asking them to directly have a dialogue and end the crisis. But today, for the first time, when he met President Putin face to face after the Ukraine conflict began, he has said it in person, sitting across President Putin, that this needs to end because of the global crisis that the Ukraine conflict and crisis has created.
Right. Maha, interestingly, the Prime Minister also acknowledging both Russia and Ukraine's help in getting students, Indian students, out of war-torn Ukraine. But also, talk to us about the other significant highlights. The Prime Minister making some comments earlier in the day about transit access between member nations of the SCO too.
Yes, absolutely. And that is an important aspect that was raised by India at the SCO platform. The issue once again connected to food and energy crisis. The Prime Minister said that it has been, in fact, become even worse because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine crisis that has resulted in disruption in supply chains. And connectivity is the only answer to this crisis. he also said that member nations, at least within the SCO, should allow for right to transit.
Right.
Now, this can also be seen in the context, Ankita, of India's wheat not being allowed to transit through Pakistan to go to Afghanistan for a very long time,
Right.
when Afghanistan desperately needed that. Now, Shehbaz Sharif said that transit will be possible only if the SCO has a concrete plan on the
Yes.
matter of
All right.
connectivity.
Maha, thanks so much for joining us with those very significant developments at the SCO. Meanwhile, a day ahead of Prime Minister Modi's 72nd birthday, the Russian president also made a mention of that important day. But here's why no birthday wishes were forthcoming from him.
I also know that tomorrow, my dear friend, you are about to celebrate your birthday. As per the Russian tradition, we never offer congratulations in advance, so I cannot do that right now. But I would like you to know that we know about that, and we wish you all the best. We wish all the best to the friendly Indian nation, and we wish prosperity to India under your leadership.
Well, on to a big NDTV exclusive. Arvind Kejriwal today hitting out at Rahul Gandhi and the Congress as he dismissed the allegation that his party acts as the B team of the BJP. He also equally slammed the BJP, accused it of spending thousands of crores on buying MLAs and toppling governments. At a special NDTV town hall, Arvind Kejriwal spoke on a range of subjects from opposition unity to who was really weakening the Congress, and also outlined his blueprint for the country.
मेरा सवाल ये है कि आप खुश तो बहुत होते होंगे कि कम से कम डिस्कोर्स जो है वो एजुकेशन पर आ गया है।
हाँ, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। भी मैंने देखा अमित शाह जी स्कूलों में गए थे देखने के लिए। मुझे लगता है शायद पिछले 27 साल से जब से बीजेपी की सरकार है, पहली बार अमित शाह जी किसी स्कूल में गए होंगे। तो स्कूलों में जाने के लिए तो इनको हमने फोर्स कर दिया। अब इनके सारे नेता स्कूलों में जा जाके बात कर रहे हैं। शिक्षा पे बात होनी चाहिए, स्वास्थ्य पे बात होनी चाहिए।
Your political opponents who are in the opposition space, namely the Congress party, they've embarked on a yatra called Bharat Jodo Yatra. And they say that wherever you are going, you claim to be fighting the BJP, but in essence, you are weakening the Congress party.
B team of BJP.
Exactly. So, thank you for completing my thoughts. So, you are essentially a B team of the BJP. And in Gujarat also, you will basically weaken the Congress and thus help the BJP.
आप एक चीज बताओ फ्रैंकली, मतलब कांग्रेस को वीकन करने के लिए मेरी जरूरत है? Isn't Rahul Gandhi sufficient?
What do you make of their Bharat Jodo Yatra? Because again, the intention is the same to...
करें, अच्छा है, करना चाहिए, सबको कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा काम करना चाहिए। वो लोग कर रहे हैं, best of luck to them.
See, you clearly have a vision. I can see that. You're passionate about it. And in Delhi and now you claim in Punjab, you seem to have started delivering also. Do you feel that no one else or no political stakeholder in this country shares this passion to make India number one? See, the reason why I ask this question, you look at Mr. Nitish Kumar, he wants a larger rainbow alliance, right? You look at Mamata Banerjee, she wants a rainbow alliance, a collective opposition with a collective mission. Does Mr. Kejriwal find himself in an ekla chalo mode, that you don't want to ally with anyone and push forward with your own
इस
ideas?
देश के नेताओं को इकट्ठा करने से देश नंबर 1 नहीं बनेगा। 130 करोड़ लोगों को अलायंस करने से देश नंबर 1 बनेगा। मैं किसी के भी खिलाफ नहीं हूं, लेकिन ये जोड़ तोड़ की राजनीति, ये अलायंस, ये सब मेरे को समझ नहीं आते। ये राजनीति उनके जिम्मे में, स्कूल बनवाने हो तो मेरे को बुला लो, अस्पताल बनवाने हो तो मेरे को बुला लो, सड़कें बनवानी हो, बिजली ठीक करानी हो, किसी की बिजली खराब हो गई मेरे को बुला लो, मैं ठीक कर दूंगा, IIT का इंजीनियर हूं। लेकिन आप कहो ये अलायंस होगा, फिर ये सीट एडजस्टमेंट, ये सब मेरे को समझ नहीं आता जी, उनके भरोसे।
अरविंद जी, राजनीति का मतलब ये होता है कि आप सत्ता को अपने हाथ में लीजिए, अधिकार अपने हाथ में लीजिए और जिम्मेदारी उठाइए काम करने की। इसीलिए शायद आप राजनीति में आए कि पहले आपने आंदोलन किया लेकिन कुछ बदलता हुआ नजर नहीं आया, तो इसलिए आपने पार्टी बनाई कि सत्ता में आएंगे और जैसा हम चाहते हैं वैसा करके दिखाएंगे। तो अब जब आप ये कह रहे हैं कि हमें मेक इंडिया नंबर 1 बनाना है और आप किसी कोalition की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, 130 करोड़ लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं, तो क्या हम ये समझें कि आम आदमी पार्टी जो है वो अकेले ही कोशिश कर रही है कि पूरे देश पर छा जाए?
130 करोड़ लोग जिस दिन खड़े हो गए, एक बार अन्ना आंदोलन में खड़े हुए थे, उस वक्त की सरकार हिल गई थी। 130 करोड़ लोग इकट्ठे हो गए तो सारी सरकारों को काम करना पड़ जाएगा, हर राज्य सरकार को काम करना पड़ जाएगा। एक पॉजिटिविटी जो आएगी, आज इतना नेगेटिव हो गया है सारा एटमॉस्फेयर, इतना नेगेटिव हो गया है, ये लड़ाई कर रहे हैं, झगड़ रहे हैं, कट रहे हैं, मर रहे हैं, सारा दिन 24 घंटे लड़ना झगड़ना, ऐसे देश आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा। हमें एक पॉजिटिव एनर्जी पूरे देश के अंदर इकट्ठी करनी पड़ेगी। देश के टीचर्स, देश के डॉक्टर्स, देश के इंजीनियर्स, देश के किसान, देश के मजदूर, सब मिलके जब एक साथ धक्का मारेंगे, मेरा देश नंबर 1 बन जाएगा।
A big audience of students cheering along as Mr. Kejriwal made those comments. In other news, Amit Shah and Telangana's K. Chandrasekhar Rao will both unfurl the national flag in Hyderabad on Saturday in 2 separate September 17 official celebration events. It's building up to be a day of intense political activity in the state. It's the day the former Hyderabad state under the Nizam merged with the Indian Union. Umar Sadhir tells us what to expect.
Competitive politics at full play in Hyderabad on September 17. The BJP-led central government and the TRS government in Telangana are, for the first time, both celebrating the day the erstwhile Hyderabad state acceded to the Indian Union in 2 separate events. The MIM2 held a Tiranga Yatra on the eve of what Asaduddin Owaisi has called National Integration Day. The centre is calling it Hyderabad Liberation Day. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will unfurl the national flag and address a public meeting at parade grounds in Sikandrabad. The state government is calling it Telangana Unity Day. And Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao will hoist the national tricolour at public gardens and hold a public meeting at NTR Stadium. Both the governments are honouring Telangana heroes. The TRS is having a 3-day celebration with Tiranga Yatras in all districts. The BJP has invited the chief ministers of Telangana, Maharashtra and Karnataka as they were part of Nizam's Hyderabad state, but KCR won't attend that event. The same historical event but given very different political interpretation by the BJP and the TRS. The BJP is saying this is a liberation of the people of Hyderabad from the Nizam's army, whereas the TRS is more in agreement with the MIM that's called it the National Integration Day, saying this is the day that the erstwhile Hyderabad state had acceded to the Indian Union, to its secular, democratic Indian Republic. In Hyderabad, with camera person Nagraju, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
Disappointed with the results of the Common University entrance test and lack of clarity over the admission process in colleges, students have been expressing their views and confusion over this process. Nearly 14 lakh candidates appearing for the exam in its maiden year. Now it's over to the admissions process.
National Testing Agency today announced the result of Common University entrance test for admissions in undergraduate courses. 14.9 lakh students had registered for CUET examination, making it the second largest examination in India. But for several students like 18-year-old Vinayak, the marking pattern where 2 kinds of marks are given to each student was confusing.
Firstly, the result has been based on different percentiles. Each exam on given date was different. The rumor has it that the percentile given to us is also different according to the difficulty level on that day. Okay. But you see, according to us students, we cannot measure the difficulty level that they are giving us, and then they are giving us the marks according to themselves.
Since the implementation of CUET took time, the academic session can now only begin in November, which means students have lost close to 4 months in the academic calendar.
मैं DU से BCom ऑनर्स करना चाहता हूँ. सारा पता नहीं, पहले कॉलेजेस अगस्त में स्टार्ट हो जाते, अब से नवंबर में स्टार्ट हो रहे हैं, पता नहीं कैसे सारे कॉलेजेस कवर करेंगे.
The UGC on its part has tried to explain the 2 kinds of marks, percentile and normalized. Each student is given 2 kinds of marks, percentile and normalized marks. Percentile compares students in relation to each other in the same subject, and normalized marks are the final summing of the percentile comparison. Therefore, in some cases, percentile may be higher or lower than normalized marks. as it depends on how other students in that group have done. But at the time of admission, normalized marks will count. Meanwhile, for lakhs of CUET aspirants, Delhi University remains the top choice, followed by Banaras Hindu University and Allahabad University.
CUET scorecard does have two kinds of marks in it. They have percentile, and the second column talks about the normalized marks. And for all our eligibility and admission purpose, we will be considering the normalized marks. My request to all the students is to fill maximum, in fact fill all the colleges and all the preferences, because you really don't know where the, the relative marking would be. The admission will start taking place by October mid. So maybe we should be ready to do our admissions from 1st of November.
CUET examination is the only route to take entrance in 90 central universities across the country. 14.9 lakh students registered for CUET. But only 60%, that is 9.68 lakh, actually took exams. Many students have scored as high as 100% in various subjects. Majority of the students did well in English, political science and business studies.
After the implementation of Common University Entrance Test, the academic session in central universities for undergraduate courses now will begin in the month of November, much later than it usually begins in the month of July or August in most central universities. And while thousands of students suffered from technical glitches while taking the examination, it will be a task in front of the University Grant Commission to ensure a seamless academic session for these students. With camera person Jakoshi Kamakshay Dongre for NDTV.
Well, the Cheetahs Roar is going to be heard in India again after a period of over 70 years. 8 cheetahs from Namibia are leaving for India on a special flight which arrives at 6 a.m. tomorrow, just in time, in fact, for the Prime Minister's birthday, who will be officially releasing them in the Kuno Park in Madhya Pradesh as part of this ambitious project. Well, a first look at those cheetahs just before their departure. And thousands of mourners are currently queuing up for hours on end to pay their respects to the late Queen Elizabeth II. The queue to see the Queen lying in state in Westminster Hall is stretching for close to 8 kilometres currently, snaking past London's Tower Bridge from Westminster Hall, where she's lying in state. And Priyanshi joining us at this point with the latest on that. Priyanshi, the queue also appears to be one of the biggest Twitter trends right now. The world seems to be divided between those who are in the queue and those who are watching that queue in utter fascination. So take us through what's happening.
Right, Ankita, there are 3 types of people, some who are in the queue, some who are watching the queue, and some who are talking about the queue like all of us. Let's take you through some of those reactions. Now, the queue is also one of the top trends on Twitter right now, with many people who are joking about British people's love for the queues. Let's tell you why this is happening. The Queen's closed coffin is resting inside the Westminster Hall, and people are allowed to visit the coffin and go past the coffin at the Westminster Hall. It's a very systemized queue from what you'll see in India. You'll be surprised that how orderly that queue is. When you reach the back of the queue, you'll be given a colored and a numbered white wristband. There are also large bags that are not allowed in the queue. There's also a bag drop facility. So pretty systemized queue at that. But let's tell you what social media is saying. One user says that Americans really wonder, man, the queues at Disneyland are huge. But in response to that, you have Britain's queue. Brits really saying, hold my scone and look at my 8-kilometer queue there in London to look at the Queen's coffin. Another user says there's nothing more British than people queuing up for 2.5 miles to see the Queen, being able to track the queue online and then watching it on live stream. Another user says that now that the queue has reached capacity, is there a queue to join the queue? Fair question if you ask me. Now, one user also says that wonder how many queue babies there will be in 9 months' time, because, well, 8 hours is a lot of time to meet people, get to talk to them and make some friends. Then one user says, I went to Westminster Hall and in my opinion, it wasn't very good. There was no chance for a selfie with the coffin, no gift shop, no cafe. They won't even let you try the Imperial State crown on. And the user is pretty pissed. They say that it's a 4 on 10 rating that they're giving. One user says that the producers of the crown watching the queue and thinking how many extras they're going to need to pay for season 9. All those thousands of people in the queue that they'll have to cast. One user says that if you watch every episode of the crown back to back, it takes 20 28 hours, 58 minutes, which means that if you do it in the queue and take an hour for lunch, you'll arrive at the coffin perfectly on time for the final live episode. One user says, somebody also came up with an alternate option. Hang on, why don't we just drive the Queen down the length of the 5-mile queue? Job done and everyone can go home. So all of those responses, one user tweeted, and it's a question that I'm definitely asking myself. I neither understand the queue nor my fascination with the queue, yet here we are. One interesting fact is that there's a live stream of the queue map, and that live stream, Ankita, is also being watched by close to 9,000 people. So thousands in the queue and thousands watching people in the queue.
And of course, the British really pride themselves on being able to form queues, and well, they can certainly take pride in this one.